does something cross that many generations. Kevin, very fortunate that his audience grew up with him, and now we
Yeah.
see, his children of the people who were initially Kevin Smith fans are now becoming Kevin Smith fans. So that's a real blessing for any artist who gets a multi-generational chance at appeal. It's a real big blessing.
Well, with everything kind of as it is right now, before I always like to talk about the future. But sticking to kind of the most recent and the most funniest one that I actually own was Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. And you guys had a cameo on that. There was a ton of fantastic cameos. I think the movie was a long time coming. Knowing how the movie industry can be with cuts and edits and stuff, what was it like coming back, being reunited with your Clerks comrades, so to say, for the panel in the closet, as I'll call it?
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was again a blessing, and I had heard from Ernie O'Donnell, actually, who plays Rick Derris, who had heard from Kevin that Kevin had this idea about a very specific cameo for the cast of Clerks. And when I heard the idea, I was just kind of gobsmacked right there in my shoes, because if you would have told me, like even a handful of years ago, like whenever he talks about doing certain films, there's a lot of times that if he has a spot where he can bring in an older character or one of the actors from one of those films in a new way, just to do a fun cameo, if it makes sense to the writing, he'll do it. But if you would have told me that someday we would actually have the ability to do a cameo in one of his films, but playing ourselves, that's really bizarre. Like, I never saw that coming in a million years. And for the fans especially, it's a really special moment. It was just really exciting. But there are so many awesome cameos in that just a handful of days that I was on the set, we got to see some old friends and a lot of people I hadn't seen, and it's a real love letter to the fans.
Yeah, it was. I could tell it. It definitely had. If you is a Kevin Smith fan, you definitely can tell how how much he's grown, how much he is able to keep a rhythm, and he does remember the people that have helped him get to where he's at, you yourself included.
Yeah, you got to also take into account with Reboot, we're talking about a scenario where, the man almost died.
That's true.
So after his heart attack scenario, he became very much, I don't want to say, it became important to make the most of every day, because none of us ever really know when our time is coming. So his zest and zeal for making the most of every day and getting on top of a project and doing it and not putting things off became paramount, and wanting to reach out to all the people he worked with over the last 20 or 30 years and put them in what he was hoping to be his swan song of that would marry up all of the characters from all of the previous films. So he's going into Reboot with that mindset, and the near fatal heart attack had a lot to do with that, and thank God we didn't lose him. But that definitely spurred on getting this Reboot made, and the fact that they tried to do Clerks 3 and it wasn't panning out, it turned out the reason why it wasn't panning out was it was opening the door for the reboot, kind of.
Yeah, you make a good point. I know the world. I was just, scared. Anytime you are with anybody, whether it's your family, or even if you grew up with someone in tons of movies, it's feel like you know them somehow. And to see the drastic weight and the heart attack, and it's a scary thought. It has to be. So I guess that was good. He was able to do that, and is still going for more exciting projects. So he could top Reboot.
Yeah, and he created, as a result, with how Reboot was financed and how Reboot was released and touring the movie as almost a live event, he was able to create a new way to recoup money for a film that would not have necessarily maybe made a big dent in theaters, but when he goes around and tours it live, he's able to recoup money in a different way, which it's almost like a new approach to not only financing, but also how to release a movie and how to recoup your money, because obviously the investors, they all want their money back, and then they want a profit. You can't blame them. So now, when what he's done with Reboot, I would imagine moving forward, depending on how things pan out now after COVID, but COVID's ruining everything. But chances are, with the Mallrats sequel and eventually a Clerks 3, I would imagine he will file suit and probably tour the movies with cast members and release it in that kind of way. But I don't know. COVID's scary. I don't know. It's hard to say when there'll be a time in the future that people will be okay with large gatherings and that we're going to be safe. This has been a crazy year.
Absolutely. It's been one for the ages, sir. Final question, and this one's always up in the air a little bit, especially with this year. But it is COVIDleaf. It's a special edition, so we got to keep it that way. What does the future hold for you? What's Scott Schiaffo doing now with his life and moving forward into 2021?
Well, I've actually been very fortunate that even though with COVID, all of my convention itinerary obviously went right down for all of us. The conventions are off the table now, obviously, but we had a handful of really exciting ones this year that unfortunately were canceled. But there were a handful of films I got to work on or I got to see released that came out during this whole madness. A film called Darkness Waits, where I have a nice role as the mayor of he's sort of a crooked mayor, but it's a horror movie sequel, Darkness Waits, that's been out a few months, and that's out available for streaming on Amazon. I'm working on another thing for YouTube called The Deep State, which is a political thriller, and I'm doing the music for that, as well as I have a character role that's repeating. I worked with David Madison in a film called Wit's End that was released 2-3 months ago that got a really nice response on Amazon. I'm in the cast as well as doing the music. Something coming out really soon is called Jesus versus Satan, the zombie apocalypse. It's a bizarre short film that I will post about that I can't do it justice now, quickly trying to raffle everything off. And my audio book was just released with a really nice custom illustrated booklet from Scott Meany, the artist. That's all out available on Amazon, the book, Audible, and the CD, which comes with this really wonderful 20-page booklet. So I feel blessed to continue doing projects even with COVID. It's just now we all adapt to what we have to do under these circumstances. It's so crazy, but we have to stay safe and we have to stay on the same page. We have to try to push to get some more brotherly unity. I don't want to sound like a hippie, but I believe in that.
No, I agree.
We were at a time now where division is stronger than ever, and that's just not good.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, when November's over, it just needs to go back to, things need to be better. COVID, I don't believe it's going to be gone. Like, I've heard so many people say that the COVID is going to be gone after the election. But it just people need to start loving each other more, caring each other more, hold the door for someone, say hello, The masks are impeding a lot of things. I can say from my own experience. It doesn't help with anxiety for sure, but it's a struggle.
Yeah, sure. No, it's crazy. It's a struggle, and it's unfounded. Like nobody could have seen any of this coming per se. I know I never thought I'd live through something this profound. It's mind blowing to me. I mean, I'm not a kid. I'm far from it. I'm getting old now, but I can't believe it's just this past year alone where we're at politically and where we're at with this horrible virus. You know.
Well, I know one thing's not horrible. You got some great stuff going on. You got an audio book out. What's the name of that before we say goodbye to everybody so they can check it out?
It's called. It's a long title. It's the title of the book. The book's been out a while, but the Audible and the CD just came out over the last couple of weeks. It's called "Vicious Dogs Attack Me in Sleepless Nights of Summer." It's the same title as the book. But if people would, and if they have the interest, please reach out to me on any social media. I'll gladly point you in the right direction. I have a webpage on my website where I do have all these items available, and the good amount of the money goes to an animal rescue charity I work with. So it's all full circle, and it all for good. But I appreciate your time, and thank you for letting me promote my projects.
Absolutely, Scott. Keep loving the fur babies and keep plugging and keep going, my friend.
I will, and you do the same. And again, thanks for having me on, man.
Yes, thank you. Have a great night. Thanks again.
You too. Good night, man.
Bye-bye.